All right, today we're going to talk about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with fractions. Today we're going to talk about fraction operations, and I'm going to teach all of this by one song. Adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. Multiplying fractions, no big problem. Top times top over bottom times bottom. Dividing fractions, easy as pie. Flip the second and multiply. Again, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. Multiplying fractions, no big problem. Top times top over bottom times bottom. Dividing fractions, easy as pie. Flip the second and multiply. In that song, we have all four operations involving fractions. We're going to start off with adding fractions. To use algebraic notation, let's do A over C, or A divided by C, plus B over C. And we should know what our answer is going to be. It's going to be something over C. Match the bottoms perfectly. The denominators have to match if you're adding fraction. The same is true with subtraction, and we'll show you that in a few numbers. But that first part about adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly applies to both addition and subtraction. So A, our answer would be A plus B. Okay? We have C plus C plus C, so our bottoms, first add in, second add in, and our sum, they have the same denominator. They match perfectly. What it looks like with numbers is really easy. Let's do 5 9s plus 2 over 9, 2 9s. We don't add the bottoms. We do not add the denominators. They need to match. First add in, second add in, and the sum need to match. They match perfectly. And then what I do with my numerators, which is my top number, is I go 5 plus 2. And then when I solve, I can do it in my head. I get 7 over 9. That's it. That's it. When we have like denominators, then it's easy. All you do is add your numerators and bring over your denominator. That's like denominators. That's adding fractions with like denominators. Okay, let's do 3/4 plus 2/5. First thing we notice is the song says, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. We have a problem. Our first adding has a denominator of 4. Our second adding has a denominator of 5. We don't have a common denominator. So we have to find a way to reach a common denominator. This is where multiplication facts come in, because I can skip count 4, and then I can go 8, and I can go 12, 16, and then 20. Also know that 4 times 5 equals 20. So I can multiply these, and then multiply this by 4 and that by 3. I can cross multiply, and I would end up with the same thing, but I'm going to skip count my 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. The first multiple they have in common is 20. I had to multiply my 4 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I'm going to use 5, and I call it the ugly 1, because 5 divided by 5 is 1, and all I'm doing is renaming the fraction. And then I had to multiply my 5 by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my ugly 1 over here is going to be 4 over 4, which still equals 1, and that's just to rename it. When I multiply this, I get 15 over 20 plus 8 over 20. And now I can check it with the song, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. I found a common multiple. My first add-in matches my second add-in. I already know my answer is going to have a 20 as the denominator. And I add my numerators. I get 15 plus 8, and that's going to equal 23. And our answer, before we simplify, is 23 over 20. Subtracting fractions. The song applies here. Adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. you'll notice again that my denominators match. These are called like fractions because they have matching denominators. The song says, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. First number, the second subtrahend, and then the difference all match. 4 minus 1 equals 3. Our answer is 3 over 7. We do not change the denominator. They have to match perfectly. These are called unlike fractions because they have different denominators, and the song says that we have to find the same denominators. We need to pull out multiplication facts. I know that 2 goes into 6 3 times. That's one way I can do it. I can say 2 goes in 6 3 times, so my ugly one is going to be times 3 times 3. My ugly one reminds me when I'm making equivalent fractions that what I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator so that I keep my fraction equivalent to the first fraction I have. I'm renaming the fraction, but I am not changing the value of the fraction. So our new equation would be 5 over 6 minus 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. Adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. They started off with differing denominators. We found a common denominator. Our bottoms match perfectly. Our denominators match perfectly. Now I just do the operation. 5 minus 3 equals 2. And we're going to leave it at 2 6 for now because we're not going to talk about simplifying fractions just yet. All right, multiplying fractions. That's the next one in the song. It says adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. Multiplying fractions, no big problem. Top times top over bottom times bottom. And we would end up with the product of A, B, or A times B over the product of C times D. Our top is called the numerator, and our bottom is called the denominator. So we go numerator times numerator, that's 6 times 4, if you want to write it out before you do it. And now we have 7 times 15. You can use your multiplication facts, and you would find out that 6 times 4 is 24. And 7 times 15 should be 105. We get 24 over 105. Multiplying fractions, no big problem. Top times top over bottom times bottom. Notice the denominators do not have to match. The biggest thing about dividing fraction is understanding that we read from left to right, which means our second term is C divided by D. So the song says, dividing fractions easy as pie, flip the second and multiply. It doesn't tell us to change anything in our first term. So we just bring down our first term. We have A divided by B, we bring down A divided by B. It says flip the second. So we take this and we flip it. Our numerator becomes our denominator. Our denominator becomes our numerator. This is also called the reciprocal. Dividing fractions easy as pie. Find the reciprocal of the second term and then multiply. Flip the second term and then multiply. You'll notice that I changed my division sign to a multiplication sign. Dividing fractions easy as pie. Flip the second one and then multiply. And then you go back to what it said about multiplying fractions. No big problem. Top times top over bottom times bottom. All right, here we are. We have 3/20 divided by 1/2. I'm going to change my 1/2. I'm going to make my denominator my numerator, and my numerator my denominator. That's called the reciprocal. That's what they mean by flipping. And notice I'm following what the song says. Dividing fractions easy as pie. Flip the second. Next step, then multiply. Okay, let's go ahead and put out multiplication symbol. Well, what's left to multiply? All we do is bring down the first term. 3 times 2 is 6. 20 times 1 is 20. And we have an answer. The only thing left to do is to simplify, and we'll cover that in another video.